Brother Yingzheng, wait for death. This time I will take your head. This life, I as a beggar, holding the engagement jade to find the rich daughter. White family all but a face of disgust. What? Does a fallen clan was still want swan meat? Just when they thought I was going to propose a marriage, I asked to join the army. The master of the house, Bai Yan, looked at me with surprise. But then I took a white cloth out of my arms. When he saw the contents inside, Bai Yan's face changed. Everyone could not help glancing sideways, and then all were stunned. Nephew, what are you? Bai Yan felt a little trance at the moment, because the contents of the cloth are breaking off the engagement. Think of just now is still for this matter and headache. The word will be in their own hands in a twinkling of an eye. This huge anti-transfer Bai Yan cannot believe, cannot help but ask why I want to break the engagement. And my answer changed the faces of everyone in the room. Don't force others to do it. My face raised a light smile. The heart really does not care, because I am a fake descendant of Zhu. This marriage is not mine. I admit that the White King is beautiful, but it has nothing to do with me, and I am not a whore who thinks only with my lower body. And just now the eyes of the White family also let me know that no matter whether I can solve the White family, I will try my best to let me be willing to lift, since why not hurry up? I arch the hand. Hope uncle can see in the past. Let me enlist in Qin. Killing one enemy can be promoted. It seems fair, but in reality, it still needs connections. Now Bai wants me to give up the marriage, fine. But in exchange, the name of Bai will be lent to me. At this moment, Bai Yan's face was blue and purple. He did not expect me to be so bold. And that sentence is not forced, but also let him feel a slap in his face. He looked at me livid. You want to use white? Yes, we do. I solemnly said to Bai Yan, eyes without a trace of timidity. Now Bai Shai Ho, I leave as soon as possible. I also want to leave Bai Shai as soon as possible. Why conceal? At night, I sat in my guest room, and now I only need to wait for Bai's side to make arrangements, so that I can freely enter and leave the state of Qin. But it's the one that suits me best, because the souls I passed through have allowed me to communicate with the dead, so there is no better place for me to play than the battlefield. At the same time, this is also my best chance. I want to use my own hands in the process of Qin's attack on the Six States, to honor the Lord. And in Bai's study, Bai old man looked at Bai Yan. Zhongyan, what do you think of him? Bai Yan sighed. This child's mind is really beyond the age. Just now I also saw his hands are full of calluses, must have been penance martial arts, and he also recognized the Qin character. As he spoke, Bai Yan's brow furrowed quietly, realizing that my abilities and efforts were far beyond expectation. Little daughter, Bai Ying Snow, at this moment staring big beautiful lies to his father. And on the side of the White Monarch is also very surprised. At the moment they did not expect that tattered fallen clan bow that much. White Monarch think of the young man without hesitation to retire the appearance. I do not know why always let his heart some uncomfortable. After growing up, more and more soldiers pursued her, and I was the first one who did not care about him. The second day, a face of guilt White Pops found me. Asked me what needs. White family will try to meet me, as long as the two pieces of Qin Jia, which let the old man some surprise, but I did not expect that at this time. Bai Ying Snow is sneaky open my door, the reason to go to my room, nothing more than worrying that I regret the dissolution of the engagement, so to steal the jade. When Bai Junju looked at the jade in his hands in the boudoir, his eyes were full of shock. Little sister, you are too presumptuous. If found out, Bai's reputation will be ruined. Bai Ying Snow bowed her head and sobbed. Her heart was full of grievances. She just hoped that the elder sister was go. When they were ready to return the jade, they found that I had returned to the door of the guest room. Tannic in the Bai Ying Snow emergency wisdom. Come to me to try martial arts. Want to take the opportunity to let sister put back jade. What she didn't know was that the act almost cost her sister her innocence. When Bai Junju timidly opened my package, the next moment a lot of bamboo slips came into view, which was the story of the later generations that I copied for Bai Moonlight of the state of Qin. Just a glimpse, Bai Junju was addicted to it. And at this time in the courtyard, perhaps in order to vent the grievances just now, White Ying Snow, who has practiced martial arts since childhood, attacked me like a wind. But the whole time, she couldn't hurt me. The idea that I have no grudge against him makes me suspicious. You know, half a day later, when I returned to the guest room and was about to sit down, I suddenly found that the bamboo slips on the table had been moved. I frowned, instantly understand why Bai Yingshu will find me to compete. Check, although I did not find what was lost. But now I just want to leave Bai as soon as possible. This feeling of being a slave is very bad. I have to take care of Bai Shai no matter what I do. But Bai Shai people can be reckless to me. I sit on my knees again at the table, holding the carving knife quietly writing the story. But no one expected that behind the curtain in the corner, Bai Junju was white at the moment, and the atmosphere dared not breathe. She also did not expect that she would be attracted by the story on the bamboo slips, into the fan to go but found it was too late, when he was desperate. The door was immediately pushed away by Bai Ying Snow. You come out with me. Looking at Bai Ying Snow that anxious appearance, and glancing around, I have determined that in this room in addition to me, there are people who want to hear. I looked at Bai Yingshu, hesitant to catch the man out, in the quiet room. Accompanied by my silence, Bai Yingshu could not help feeling weak in the heart. Bai Junju, hiding behind the curtain, was holding his breath nervously. Okay, I'll walk out with you. Listen to my answer. Bai Junju hanging heart finally put down, just when the two sisters were leave. I suddenly again came a word. Take your people to leave. Today's things, I do not know. Hearing this sentence, Bai Junju's pupils shrank and his mind went blank, because this sentence means that I already know there is someone in the house. Looking at me go far, Bai Junju Chiao face slightly red out of the room. But before he left, he took a look at the back of me standing in the distance, and there was a slight change in the beauty of his eyes. This young man clearly knew that there was someone in the house, but he did not make trouble, but was very generous and did not embarrass his little sister. Bai Junju could not help but think of his father once said that the young heart is introverted, the mind is far beyond ordinary people. In the evening, White House servants with 2 sets of chinjia and wooden plates came to the guest room. Looking at the 2 big characters of Bai Yan on the wooden board, my eyes are full of complexity, which is my name in the future. With this little thing, I had the status of a lover, and could at last enlist. Early in the morning of the second day, Bai Ying Snow hurried to find her sister, smiling with Zhou. Long sister she lacked. However, looking at the bamboo slips of Bai Junju just beautiful eyes a meal, and then restored as before, heard that the day is not bright. He left without saying goodbye, also left the engagement jade on the table. White Ying Snow said for a while, see sister don't want to ignore him. Only a grieved Baba left, but Bai Yingshu did not know that after he left, Bai Junju put down the bamboo slips in his hand, thinking that the young man is obviously not much bigger than him, but he is such a mind, not only practiced martial arts, but also recognized the Qin character, and that fascinating story. She blinked her light, beautiful eyes and for the first time became curious about a person. A few days later, when I arrived at the camp to report, I saw an old soldier over 50 years old, who was training soldiers. The old soldier came up to me and asked, "Recruit." As I spoke, my eyes scanned me. Back to the general, the new pawn Bai Yan. I nodded, and then gave him my wooden plate. The old pawn was about to reach out to take the wooden plate, suddenly heard my name. His eyes flashed a touch of accident, and when he noticed the calluses in my hands, he looked at me calmly. Just as I was wondering, the old pawn finally put away his curious eyes. Bo, the old husband's name is you. The title is not more. And then he arranged for me to camp and left. However, the next morning, I just woke up, out of the camp, met you old pawn. In fact, he was a little surprised to see that my face did not look tired at all, and marveled that you can stand the smell of the camp. General, who are you? It's all right, I'm cool. Interesting, you old pawn looked at me and smiled. What he didn't know was that I could endure a rotten corpse that was 100 times more disgusting than a tent. At this time, not far from the sound of soldiers practicing, I could not help but look for the sound. Don't look at it, you don't need to practice. Just as I was wondering, you turned around and asked me to go out with him. As soon as he arrived in the city of Lantian, he walked easily into a wine shop, and soon came out with a bulging wine pot hanging from his waist. He turned to look at me. If you are not short of money, you can take others to the restaurant after the training. Do not worry about punishment. After all, if you want to win the siege defense, you must cultivate cronies to help. One sentence makes me froze in place. How does the general know? Listening to my inquiry, you old pawn's eyes appear to smile. Clearly, it's a callous hand that the martial arts people prefer to wear heavy armor and can be worth such efforts. Only the first victory. After learning that you old pawn guessed that I wanted to take the first boarding, I knew that you old pawn was definitely not easy. The following days, all under his command to practice earnestly. Yesterday's training, the distance suddenly came roaring iron hooves. At the moment, everyone's mind has emerged an idea. This is the Iron Cavalry Army. Every recruit's eyes are full of envy, dreaming of becoming a member of the cavalry army. At that moment, you old soldier led a 20-something general to me. This Bo was Bai Yan. The general didn't say much, just told me to follow him. I was confused, but I was even more confused. All the way, I felt that the soldiers of Qin along the road seemed to be looking at me curiously. After walking for a long time, he finally came to a large tent. Bai Yan met with the generals, and I bowed my arms to the generals in front of me. But what I did not expect was that I had just finished speaking. I saw a middle-aged man looking at me with a smile. I was puzzled. I didn't seem to know him. General Bai Yu, this Bai Yan is your kinsman, and the generals nearby also looked at me with a smile. I was suddenly surprised to look up. This middle-aged man is actually Bai's people. Think of here, my heart's helpless. Now I have no relationship with Bai. The general named Bai Yu, why want to find me? It was my people. Bai Yu looked at me with a smile, seemed to see the unease in my eyes, and did not expose my meaning. After the meeting, White Jade and I walked out of the camp. Why did the general help me? I finally asked. Your father saved my elder brother's life, and now you and Junju have annulled your marriage, and I, Bai, will naturally compensate you. Bradbury doesn't owe me anything to make up for. Listen to me, a general. White Jade think. I decided because the Bai did not want to marry the June Bamboo to me, so dissatisfied with the Bai. But the next moment my words let White Jade froze in place. Can you tell why Whitefield led the troops south? Is it ready to destroy Han? How do you know? White Jade turned to look at me. Face is all serious. It was very different from the kind appearance of Fan, because he knew that not many people knew about this matter. I guess, because you suddenly led the troops to the south. And the map in the kept just now, I have a firm mind at this moment, in my memory, the first state of Qin to destroy Han. For a long time, the white jade opened up. But looking at my eyes some strange, as a soldier, the first time to handsome account, actually can be so careful. This is not like an ordinary teenager. Just 2 months later, you want to go? I nodded, but he didn't say anything, just looked at me quietly. Soon it was time for the horsemen to set out, and I put on my armor, and even covered my arms and legs. The other soldiers saw me with a face of mockery, and before they went to the battlefield, they wrapped their bodies in a tight bundle of harm, and they looked like aristocrats who had come to mix military achievements. However, when the army was about to enter Korean territory, they were shocked by my actions because I walked into the registration line for the siege. Registered old officials looked at my eyes full of appreciation. Clan children dared to do the first few people, worthy of the former One Army White Rise clan. And White Jade these days did not see me to find him. Guess I was secretly calm. He sighed. Let the boy have a good experience. In the battlefield in the end how difficult it is. Soon it was the day of the siege, and neither I nor the rest of the pioneers were looking at the towering wall in the distance. Everyone knew in their hearts that the fame and fortune they wanted was on that wall, and either we would be killed or we would kill those people. Dong 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 accompanied by thunder drums sounded. A messenger riding a horse quickly came. The general has orders. Siege. In an instant, countless Qin soldiers standing next to the ladder began to push the ladder towards the tower, and I also followed, and the ladder just reached for 100 paces. The next second, I saw a million dark shadows on the wall. Remembering Yu's words, he quickly put his body on the board of the ladder. Then thousands of arrows rained down on all sides, and screams continued to be heard. Countless soldiers fell to the ground under the arrows, and not far behind me, countless Qin soldiers. I have held crossbows to shoot arrows on the tower. The aerial ladder soon reached the tower under a rain of arrows from both sides. I was relieved, but I knew that the danger had only just begun. The siege commander gave the order. Countless soldiers climbed up the ladder, all wanting to be the first to rush to the tower, because there was only one first. The next moment, however, pieces of wood full of swords fell from above, and with them the soldiers who had climbed up before. But before I could look up, I felt a small thing fall on my neck, and immediately felt a sharp pain. I knowing my teeth without humming, and dared not look up. These are fine sand that has been burned, and once it falls, it will instantly blind the eyes. With the passage of time, I began to whirring onto the ladder, only one person first, and these more than 20 ladders stuck together. Sooner or later someone will rush up. After waiting for a long time, I finally heard the command of the general. I pulled out my sword and climbed up the ladder through the billowing smoke, with only one thought in my mind: climb up with all my might or die. Finally, I approached the city wall, and my teacher had taught me that if I hesitated, I would lose my life. I clenched my teeth, drew my sword with a swish and jumped. At the moment of boarding the tower, there immediately appeared in front of a group of enemies full of satsui. At this time, I have no way to retreat, be instant like a bad valve, the first to pounce on those Korean soldiers holding change. I learned it from the top swordsman Yin Bai. Both reaction and sensitivity are far beyond ordinary people. Now the Korean soldiers on the wall are facing a man who is not only a swordsman, but also a man who is not afraid of death. And then one Korean soldier falls. At this time, the South Korean generals guarding the side have also arrived, knowing that let me kill again, morale will not be guaranteed. He whipped out his sword and lunged at me. I also held the Qin sword in both hands and rushed up. The moment the two met, the two swords suddenly collided together, just as he was about to strike again. The next moment, there was a cold feeling on his neck. How fast? At this thought, the South Korean general's pupils contracted, a stream of blood rushed to the wall, and the Korean general fell to the ground. A breach was breached, and more Qin soldiers climbed up. In the army of Qin, the commander general Tang Lao looked at the city of Yan, did not expect that shortly after the siege of the city, a soldier attacked the tower, but also relieved, and later asked who was the first person to ascend. One side of the general is also curious to ask. The first to climb the soldiers of perennial martial arts people. The deputy general's face was deep in thought. The only one who practiced martial arts was Bai Yan, a member of General Bayu's clan. White Jade turned his head, eyes full of shock looked at the tower. The bow don't kill it. Is it because Jun Bamboo ran to do first? He sighed. Can only pray that I can live. Missing an arm, and a leg does not matter. After entering the city, Bayu looked around at the soldiers who had come before him, but he did not see my shadow. He walked past with a sense of unease. One of the first soldiers to stand up. General, Bai Yan should still be in the tower. Bayu Wenyan felt in his heart and opened his mouth to ask if he had died in battle. At this moment, one of the first soldiers, all with strange eyes looking at the White Jade general, don't you know in your own heart, your nephew in the end how fierce? When I learned that I had won the first prize, Bayu instantly opened his eyes, a face of astonishment. Just now he saw, on the tower that the first soldier alone to face the enemy, such a brave man, how can it be me? Immediately ordered Bai Yan to come. See me White Jade a face trance. First, still alive, he found some do not understand me. When I look at a body of blood came, the generals do not then breathe in cold breath. How many people have killed this bow? The generals thought that White Jade will praise me, but heard his words, but some dumbstruck. Do the first clan why not say with me, in the eyes of White Jade, although the White is not willing to marry the June Bamboo to me, but have him, no longer worrying about the opportunity to make a difference, do not need to work so hard. At this time, everyone looked at me with a face of shock, whether I do the first sporting this thing. White Jade General did not know. Bai Yan is also a pawn of Qin, I said. But you listen to what I said. Looking at my young age, face full of blood and water, he suddenly vaguely felt that the elder brother and father, this is likely to be really wrong. This young man is not as good as Meng Chia Li Din, but is it really not worthy of Junju? The second day, White Jade called me out alone. Go I tell you straight, you are not able to marry June Bamboo. But let White Jade did not expect is that his words have not finished. I hurriedly smiled and waved my hands. No. Just went to the White House that day. I noticed Bai Junju's resistant eyes, although I did not blame him. But I'd rather find someone who doesn't despise me to be my wife in these troubled times. What do you mean, no need? White Jade stared at me. Looking at my eyes did not look like fake. He had an idea in his mind. This Bo did not want to marry June Bamboo. White Jade of face cannot think. You do not know. June Bamboo not only looks. The role is famous talented woman. 6 countries text June Bamboo. Oh no, your Bo is not willing. I put my hand to Bai Yu. Bai Yan is still young. Qinggan has not been obtained. Do not want to think about the feelings of men and women. But at this moment I also have some surprises in my heart. Did not expect Bai Junju into the 7 countries. I suddenly remembered that someone had seen my bamboo slips that day. Whether that person was Bai Junju. You Bo like snow. White Jade suddenly test my reaction. After all, the appearance of White Snow is not worse than her elder sister. And the snow is strange, very pleasing. Looking at my face of stunned reaction, Bai Yu smiled. And then let me stay with him in Yangcheng, responsible for food and grass escort. He did not continue to say June Bamboo things. Anyway, he is ridden back to Pingyang. At this time in Pingyang City, several iron horses hurried to the White House door. White Jade General's secret letter. White old man tucked to bamboo slits, slowly opened up to see. The next moment the old man's face changed greatly, and then carefully read 2 or 3 times before a face of shock put away the bamboo slips. Then in the study, Bai Yan saw the content written in bamboo slips, and opened his eyes wide in an instant. The others looked puzzled. After a moment he came back to God. There is still a shock in his eyes, and he opened his mouth to the people. Bai Yan won the first victory, beheaded a Dr. Wu, killed 21 Korean soldiers. Bai Ying Snow, who had been psychologically prepared, looked at her father in shock at the moment. She knew that the young swordsman was very strong, but never thought so strong. And now she finally knew that when the former sword, the young man let him how much. Bai Junju also quietly glared big beautiful eyes. Think of the young man who almost became his husband. There was a trace of regret in his heart. However, they do not know, thousands of miles away in Yangcheng. But a change in the fate of the White family happened. I did not take off my armor that night, and I did not dare to do so until I got the news. Just then, I suddenly heard the sound of hooves outside the yard, and then I saw the soldiers covered with blood. I have a vaguely bad feeling about this. When the soldiers saw me, they hurried forward. Last night, General Bai Yu escorted the grain and was attacked by 3,000 enemy soldiers.